Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm David King.
I'm Fredric Cilbrith.
I'm Dave Ryan.
And John Estevez.
And welcome to another edition of Keeping It Real. Well, thank you, John, for your own introduction. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a guest on. He's a community activist. Because that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. People that are doing things out in the community. But before we get started on today's show, I want to say thank you to all, our fellow viewers that tune in every night and watch our show. I want to say thank you to all you guys. Very much appreciate it. And we wouldn't be sitting up here having this panel if it wasn't for you guys. So we do thank you guys very much. Fred, you wanted to say something?
Well, Dave, I heard about your dog over the weekend. I want to offer my condolences.
Thank you.
Same here.
Thank you, Dave.
Same here.
Thank you, John. Yeah, she was only 2 years old. I miss her, but she's in a better place, and like they say, the show must go on. Speaking of that, well, I'm here today with a community activist. This man not only has, accomplished different things for himself, but he's done a lot for the community. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to John Estevenz, who can tell you a little bit about himself and what does he do. John?
Hello. Yeah, I'm John Estevenz from the Disability Resource Network. I've been paraplegic since I was 28, and after overcoming my own disability, I've been working with families and youth with disabilities, with whether teaching them how to do recreation, going out into the community, helping them get jobs, how to live, how to drive, how to get services. We do a lot in the Bridgeport area. We're at 1718 Capitol Avenue in Bridgeport. And we just purchased a new facility on 340 Capitol Avenue that will be doing information and referrals, helping people in the Bridgeport area find out where to get services. But we also will be working with, we have clients that come to us from the Bridgeport Board of Ed and other surrounding areas. But we provide recreation, and we also get involved with some political stuff, hoping that the next mayor of Bridgeport is disability friendly, and providing the services to the people in Bridgeport with disabilities.
I mean, well, first of all, I do hope the next mayor is disability friendly, because as guys that we discuss a lot of times, there's a lot of things that needs to be changed in the disability community. Yeah. I mean, for one, you and Dave Ryan has always talked about public transportation.
Yeah, that's been a
buses staying out later.
Yes, in certain areas which they don't. But my biggest thing is, I've asked you guys before, what do you guys think about the crime going on? From a person that lives in a disability community, how does all that crime that's going on affect you guys? And Dave, I'll start with you.
Well, sure. I'm a little scared about going out there after hours. Being a disabled person, you're actually a nice big target for someone who's out to thinks that you're easy pickings, but they got another thing coming.
Fred?
I mean, I'm gonna go off what Dave Ryan said. When you're out there and you're walking around in the streets, it's very easy for people to take advantage of you and want to be your friend, but then you get steal from you or something like that.
That's right.
They look at you as an easy target versus a person.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, that's why I try to do what I got to do before it gets dark and get in the house, but sometimes it's easier said than done. But John, you're a person that's out in the community and you deal with tons of disabled kids, people. What's your opinion on all the crime that's been happening?
Well, it's not fair, obviously, right, that we should have to worry about it, but we do have we're an easy target. I'd like to see more community policing, in especially downtown Bridgeport and in areas where we have to get off of a city bus, where there's more community policing. I know the city has a budget for the police officers that they have, but there should be more programs that have community policing where we can feel safe being downtown Bridgeport at night or being in a certain area. Happens a lot. You see it on not only in Bridgeport but in other urban areas where people with disabilities or senior citizens are always the first target because I'm not chasing you or it's easy to knock me down. You can try, but
Yeah.
we can't really. There's not much we're going to be able to do. So I'd like to
Yeah,
see more
true.
community policing, and like saying that buses running later times, so that if you have to get out of going to downtown, it's Harbor Yard Arena, or you get out at a baseball game, why should we have to leave before anybody else to get home safe? If the event runs till 11 o'clock, they should have a bus that runs till 11 o'clock at night.
Well, when I was growing up a few years ago, they had a CV club. Local Milford had a CV club back a few years ago, and they would volunteer their time and watch certain businesses where it's dark and take the strain off of what the police would have to go through. And if there was a problem, they'd call it into the police or some other authorities, and it was a volunteer action type group. If we could see something more like that these days, that would be great.
I mean, for me, I want to touch back on. I mean, that was great, Dave. What you're saying. I want to touch back on what John you said, being more the next mayor being more disabled community friendly. Like for one, there needs to be more curb cuts, okay, and they need to fix some of the sidewalks because why is it that they don't want us to be on the street, but the sidewalks are more messed up than your roads?
Yeah.
And yet there's all this money that they always talk about they have, but yet it disappears. But then when you ask them, it's not enough money in the budget. And John, I know you specifically deal with some of that when you take some kids to recreational programs, and there's always they don't have enough money to fund your program to take kids out in the community, but yet they have money for everything else. I mean, my opinion to that, I feel that that's bogus. I mean, John, what about you?
Well, just talking about the curb cuts and things like that, I'll give you an example. You can go down to Seaside Park, and we'll take, between 40 to 50 kids down there, and there are sections of the park down in Bridgeport at Seaside where you can cross. There's a curb cut on one side of the street and not on the other.
We have that right here downtown in
So
Bridgeport.
it's not. I mean, that's just not. There's no planning. There should be an ADA coordinator as part of the Bridgeport board for the mayor's office, or as far as the city council. There should be somebody looking for disability services that we can call or deal with directly that could bring that to either Parks and Recreation, who's fixing the who's in charge of maintenance of the streets. I don't know how many times I'm driving down in Bridgeport, and I'll see David or other clients of mine actually just going down the road because they can't go on the sidewalks, either because the sidewalks are broken, or they know that if they go down on one side of the street on the sidewalk and get to the other end, there's actually no curb cut. And the mayor's office needs to pay attention to that when somebody calls. Right now, if someone makes a call down there, and we've done it, there's not a specific person that we have to deal with, and I'd like to see that come either from the next mayor or the new administration. Someone specific related to disabilities, a disability person that we can call and voice our either our likes or dislikes or any concerns that we have.
Right. Well, in Milford, I went onto the City Hall Milford website, and they do have a spot in there where you could enter, a complaint or some kind of grievance, and just politely put in, say, my street has some potholes, and we have elderly and handicapped people walking down on the street. Can you please come down and check it out? And I sent that in, and I've seen the workers down there checking it out already. So they're on your websites, when you go to on your city hall websites, your city websites, always have a section where you could voice your opinion on something, or put in a request or something like that, or if you see garbage debris dumped somewhere, you can call it in.
The problem is I mean, I'm pretty sure there's probably a process for that in Bridgeport. Right. The problem is the response.
Exactly.
So I want the response.
I was just about to ask one of you three, because everybody knows out there I'm a Bridgeport resident. I live here in Bridgeport, so I go through a lot of struggles down here in Bridgeport. But do you guys feel that it's more, how you say, disabled friendly in your towns? I know you two are from Milford, and you're
Seymour.
in Seymour. Is it more disabled friendly out there compared to down here in Bridgeport?
I mean, I would say so.
Bus-wise, yeah. Well, the buses do have the elevators, and they are very accommodating for that. But the amount of hours that they run to help you out, they close down at 6:30 at night, and then you have to stay in your house.
I think that's
it's really depressing
for us. I think that's the biggest thing, is because we've gone out at 4 or 5 o'clock, but we got to get a ride back because they stopped at 6.
Yeah.
Now, if they stopped at like 9 o'clock, 10
That would be
o'clock,
beautiful, right?
Right.
we could stay out later.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't think Milford has the funding for it.
It's not just the busing. For me, it's about response. It's about caring about who's the more important
Exactly.
about your citizens.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in Bridgeport. I own businesses in Bridgeport. I own houses in Bridgeport. It's about response. It's about when I make a phone call, an expectation. I mean, it doesn't have to be immediate that day. It might even be 2 days from now.
Right.
But I want a response,
Yeah.
negative or positive. I want a phone call back. I have people from Bridgeport that call me, that ask me to help them. I've given them the number to either to the mayor's office or to a city office. The response hasn't been great. Even just a call that says, "Look, there's nothing that we can do," or we're working on these other projects. I just want a person to call and say to me,
Right.
"We heard what your concerns are, whether you're going to fix it or not, or direct me to a different department." But when I don't get a response, then I feel like then I'm not a resident of Bridgeport, or I'm not getting through to
Right.
somebody, and then they don't care. But when they want to get elected,
Thank
or
you.
when someone wants to get, when their agenda needs to be
They want
passed,
to knock on our door.
then they want to knock on your door. Then they want you to respond. They want you to talk about. I don't want it before an election. I want it through the whole process
Right.
of when someone is in office. I don't, and I'm happy about some things that have happened in Bridgeport, or some prospective things that are going on. But I'm not happy when I make a phone call and I don't get a response.
Right. Okay.
I mean, you're not the only one. A lot of people that live in the Bridgeport community feel the same way. We're not thought of during the year, but we're thought of when it comes to election time. When like for example, we all know winter season comes up. There is not one sidewalk, not even a spot for a person, not even to get dropped off. And Fred, you've been with me on the city bus.
Yeah.
Jumping off in the middle of the street. I feel like there is no consideration for a person with a disability, and it bothers me a lot. And being a person that's active in the community and sitting next to here with John Estevenz, as we all are community activists in our own way. I mean, Fred, you go to Houstonic, right here in Bridgeport, so you spend a lot of time down here in Bridgeport. Dave Ryan, you come do this show every night down here in Bridgeport, and of course, John, like you said, you run a school down here in Bridgeport, and I'm all over the place in Bridgeport, and winter is like one of the hardest times. Yes, we can't do nothing about the weather, but you think that somebody would have the common courtesy enough, or whoever's administration, like you said, to shovel a curb cut, to shovel some kind of pathway in the winter, instead of us getting dropped off on the middle of the street.
I mean,
with a chance to get hit by a car.
I mean, I remember when they had the snowstorm last winter, and they had mounds of it here in downtown, and they dropped me off right in the street. I'm like hobbling to Houstonic, saying I don't
trying to
fall.
get over. I know, and they pile the snow at the corners.
But here's a question I got for you.
Crazy.
Since you said about buses or anything running late, what about having a community taxi? To have a volunteer taxi if you're getting out at like say 12:30 at night. There's no bus.
Well, what they do have now, and I've not researched it enough, is the new Metro cab system.
Yes, they have Metro.
So there is a process, I believe. But with everything, it's going to cost money.
Right.
There
is a process for using the new Metro cab company for being picked up late.
Okay.
And I think me and Dave have talked about this. I actually should try to use it a couple times just to see how it works, so that I can see if it's a good program. Do they come with a handicap van? Do they tie people down correctly? What hours of their operation are? Well, and I believe they only do Bridgeport and Stratford.
Right.
Okay.
You know, I've seen them drive around in the PT Cruisers.
Right.
I've actually used them once or twice. You know, I've got out of work late, haven't used them. They do strap you down just like if you were in a van of like you
Okay,
had.
good.
I believe they run 24 hours just like the regular cab service. The problem with them is there's not enough of them. Like, okay, for
Right.
example, you know how you have the regular taxis and there's like
Right.
a bunch of them. There's only so many actual metro taxi vans to take you around in general. So it's like if it was a busy day, you'd have to kind of wait, you know, longer than usual to get a taxi,
Right.
which can be a pain, especially in the middle of January. And like a friend of mine, know Onyx, you getting out of work late and you're sitting out there freezing, waiting for a cab. It's not exactly a fun wait.
I mean, in Milford, they got Milford Transit, which is like door-to-door service. They'll take you to and from.
GPT. You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was just about to ask. It's good that they have that, but I still feel that it's not considerate just because of the fact they're always late.
Oh yeah,
They're always
I
late.
had that
Now,
experience.
let me
too.
ask-
Nobody has to wait.
me ask
an
you
hour.
guys a
Yeah,
question.
they have a window.
Let me ask you guys a question.
What's up?
If they told you they're supposed to be there at 8, they don't come till 10, but you have a job where you have class,
Yeah,
you know, that doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
And you know, I get it's like they have the right idea, but then the thought is really not there.
Yeah.
You know, people have to get to work. You know, people have to get to school. People have to get places to go, and you're sitting there waiting all day and get you fired.
yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
case in point, I was supposed to go to work one day, and I was supposed to be there by 9. The thing doesn't come to 11. Like, what kind of stuff is that?
Oh man.
Luckily, my boss was understanding, but if he was not understanding, I would have been out of a job. I mean, do you guys feel? I mean, come on, you guys can't tell me that you feel that that's even.
That
Right.
isn't even
No,
right.
it's not a program that works consistently, and it doesn't work. It's more for, I think, more for medical appointments. But even for that, if you basically have to set yourself an hour ahead, and you have to go everywhere, and sometimes you'll get there an hour before your appointment. But it's the only way you can
But
do it.
sometimes even when you schedule that far ahead, they're still mega late. And
But-
GBT Access is not just for medical use; they're actually for any use between, like, you know,
Right.
your regular errands to medical use.
You know, that's one thing I noticed about being a disabled person. You are busting a hump to accommodate everybody else so that you can
Yeah.
get your little thing done. I mean,
Right.
you got to work twice as hard as the average bear out there.
Who you tell?
You know, it's unbelievable.
That's usually the get-go, Dave.
I guess that's
Well, that's
pretty
why
much the
we're here.
concept
And
of
it.
that's why we're here, and that's
Right.
why we're talking about it now.
Right.
The problem is getting through to the people, the decision makers,
Right.
the politicians. If enough of us get together and enough people vote, I can't say it enough that the only power that we have as people with disability is our numbers. But we have to be a voting bloc. We have to be enough that someone fears that the decisions that they're making or not making
Right, okay.
is going to pay a price when they go to vote.
Right.
So if there's people that want to complain, and there's a lot of complainers, but then they don't want to get involved
That
with
is right.
voting
Yeah.
or coming to a rally or going to a meeting. You have to make a difference, and the only difference that's made for laws or for decisions is when they fear disabled people.
Right.
Enough of us will come out on either voting for a president, a senator, a mayor, a representative.
or even just to make change. You know, you got to band together. Like I say it all the time. We all of us that have disabilities, our disabilities may be different. We may be blind. We may be in a wheelchair, whatever. But there are strength in numbers. You are correct. And
Right.
the problem with that is a lot of us in the disabled community. I love the disabled community. It's pretty much what I stand for more than anything
Right.
else. But we have to, in a way, I feel, stop feeling sorry for ourselves and make a difference. We want change. We got to go out there and make the change. And that's the whole reason why we're here tonight.
Right.
As community activists, is to empower the disabled
You know-
community to get out more and to, you know,
David
if they-
knows when
if they want change, you got to work for it.
David went to Washington with me,
Yes.
seeing thousands of disabled people come together and affect change. We shut down the streets in Washington because we
I believe it.
refused to get out of the streets until someone came and talked to us, and we went and talked to about 20 senators when we were in Washington. We were in the legislative building.
That's
And
cool.
we were affecting change for, at that time, was for the personal care assistance waiver, because we wanted the right to hire our own people, not for an agency to hire people and send them to our houses.
Right. Yeah.
You have to vote. You have to come out. You have to get your family to vote. And you have to get them to come to rallies, because there's strength in numbers. And we can make a difference, whether it's just in Bridgeport, whether it's our families, if you have 8 people and I have 10 people and Joey's got 15 people in his family and they all live in Bridgeport and they all get registered to vote and they all come out, and if the next mayor or the current mayor doesn't listen to us, guess what? You'll remember that, because when the election comes up the next time, you go, look, I tried to talk to you and you didn't do anything for me. You didn't even give me a call back. My whole family is going to vote for somebody that's going to listen to me.
Right.
So that I want to, there's an election coming up right now, and I'm not telling you who to vote for, but just remember, when you call or you've tried to call, and this administration hasn't called you or contacted you, just remember that. You vote out this administration, and you put somebody in.
Right, and people have to understand, we have the power. With it, like you said, with any kind of election, rather that's presidency, rather whatever, we have the power, because realistically, no politician has any real power but from the people, because the people that put them in office, the people can take them out of office, because the people control that, who's in office and not in office.
I think one thing that adds to it, besides all the political stuff, is also if you want to have an effect on change, keep a positive mindset. Now, that's easier said than done, but if you try to keep a positive mindset towards yourself, it can transcend towards another person, who can transcend it toward another person.
Right.
It'll spread itself out.
It's the only day, politics, a lot of things in politics, people talk about money. It takes a lot of money to run an election. So you have lobbyists and you have organizations giving money. It's the only day that doesn't matter how much money that politician has generated, that your vote outweighs $1 million, 100,000. There's only one vote per one person that walks in that booth.
Right.
But when you have, constituents, a bunch of people with disabilities, and you're not being heard, especially in a city like Bridgeport, you can make a change. Your 100 disabled people matters at the end. You can affect an election. Somebody can win by one vote, and that could be your vote, my vote, the person down the street's vote.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm supporting Joe Ganim in this election, not because of anything other than Finch has done some stuff for Bridgeport. But he's not done enough for me. And I when Joe was mayor in the past, when I called Joe, things got done. I called Joe and said there was a curb cut that wasn't done. So I need a curb cut done. It got done. Not that Mr. Finch isn't a good person, but I know that in the past, I've had both sides. I've had Mayor Finch, and I've had Joe as mayor. Joe has responded better and faster to my concerns, and I know you guys can't talk about it, but I can. So that's where my vote is going this year, is to Joe Ganim.
Cool.
I mean, you are definitely entitled to your opinion. As everybody else, you're entitled to your opinion of who you want to vote for. But going back, exactly, it all starts with your vote. It all starts about you to make the change. You have to get out there. You have to make the change. You have to make the effort to make the change. Just like we come on here every week, every night,
without fail,
to empower not only the disabled community but the young community as well, all over the state of Connecticut, not just here in Bridgeport. But that's the thing though, because we're out here trying to make change.
Right.
It's like, you have to, if you believe in something, you can't just sit on your couch and cry about it. You have to get up and do something about it. I mean, we can sit right now on our couch like, I don't like this.
And put that
If you
potato,
feel
potato
passionate
chip
about
bag
something,
away,
go
folks.
out and do it, folks.
Put those cheese doodles away. Get out there and vote.
I get phone calls every day from people from Bridgeport. Because I deal in a lot of other towns, and I tell them who to call, and then I get a call back a few days later, and the response isn't good. And so that's why I'm saying it for me and for the people that I'm talking to, and you know who you are out there, and I tell them, go register to vote. Make a difference. Come on out, and I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just telling you who I'm voting for. But I think on behalf of people with disabilities, you can't cry about it if you're not willing to help make change.
Right.
You know, so make change.
That's definitely true.
I mean, for me, I get up every day, and you guys, see me every day.
Yeah.
And I tell you guys every day, there's no point of sitting home when there are people, similar to Dr. Martin Luther King, similar to all that, who fought for our rights for disabled people to have, to be out in the community. It'd be a shame to just sit there and let all their hard work go to waste. For nothing. Or even a guy like here, like Mr. Steves, who pretty much helps young people get out in the community and get jobs. It'd be a shame to let that go to waste and just sit home.
Exactly.
It's one of those things. But as we're getting close to the end of the show, I mean, we're getting close to the end. Fred, is there anything you want to say?
I mean,
take your time. It's all right.
Just do what your heart says, what you're passionate about, and go be active in the community, because one person can make a change.
Absolutely. Dave?
Well, what you can do is go out in the community. If you see somebody who needs help, you can ask them if they need help, instead of just jumping in there and giving it to them. And there's other organizations in the area that help disabled people, like your senior centers or hospitals are a great source for finding out what kind of help is needed out in the community. So that's what I would do, what I'm doing now.
I mean, I believe that's what they made the internet for.
Yep, they have.
For research. I mean, John, anything you would like to say before we close out tonight?
Yeah, just be seen. This is not only for disabled. These are people, that are home or stuck in their houses. Be seen. Be active. There are people out here willing to help you. Like I said, I'm on Capitol Avenue, 1718 Capitol Avenue. Be active in the community. Be seen and be heard. You have a voice.
And I just want to say, once again, thank you for all everybody that watches the show every night. We can't thank you enough. Let your voice be heard. And, of course, get out in the community and just don't sit there and cry about change. Go out and make change. With that said, I'm David King.
I'm Fred Cilbrith.
And I'm Dave Ryan.
And John Estevenz.
Thank you for watching. Have a good night.